out then. Bye now. Hello. Greetings from Haiti and the Caribbean Territory. Let me say that the Caribbean Territory is one of the most exciting army worlds today. For truly God's army is marching on. Why? Because you have been giving so generously, financially, throughout the years. And our buildings and our programs are really bearing fruit for God's kingdom in those tropical islands. Let me share with you some of my missionary experiences. Let me tell you the story of a little Bahamian boy who came up to me after one Sunday school when I was handing out the Sunday school papers. He said to me, "Please, Captain, can I have one for a next somebody?" That phrase, next somebody, rang in my ears for many days. For truly, that is the missionary spirit, isn't it? One of sharing and giving, one of trying to communicate the message of God's love to those that we know, those that we share our life with. Let me tell you that missionary service cannot operate without your financial help. I have had experiences on the mission field where dollars and cents really make a difference. I remember when I was in the training college in Jamaica, having to buy enough meat for 30 adults to last for 7 days and only $21 to spend. When you average it out, that's only 10 cents a person per day. Can you imagine shopping with that amount of money? I remember my first officers' councils. It was a small group of 7 officers made up of 6 nationalities. We had been in our isolated situations and posts for many months when the invitation was given to meet together for officers' councils in a motel room paid for by the Southern Territory. And as we shared together our faith and our salvationism, as we sat around in a group of chairs with the bed and the desk pushed to one side, we began to realize what our commitment really meant. And even this was made possible because of your giving. The theme and cry of every nation and tongue is not, "We want to be Americans," or "We want to become Canadians," or Dutch, or English, but rather, "We want to become Christians." And in the Caribbean islands, where every island is an individual nation, that is still the desire and the cry of the people. They don't want to see us necessarily as missionaries, but they want to see through us the Lord Jesus Christ. Your gifts make this possible by supplying the material needs and those that are so desperately in need of help in the territory. The support of the personnel, both missionary and national, who develop and run the programs to meet the needs of the nationals there. On behalf of all of those on the other side of the water, let me say thank you again. Thank you for your continued and ongoing financial and prayerful support. For truly hand in hand, this makes it possible to do God's work in these countries. Thank you enough for caring enough to share. Because of your love of the Lord and this great army that He has inspired, the activities and the programs that operate do change lives. They change lives physically, yes. We see great miracles of healing. We see tremendous academic achievements. But more than that, we see the sinners coming to find Christ as their Savior. Brothers and sisters of yours and mine who are adopted into the great fellowship of Christian love. Thank you for proving your love, that is indeed love in action. As the verse says, love truly is an active verb. And with your generous gifts, this is all made possible. God bless you.
I'm Mayor Martinez from the Temple Corps, but originally I was trained in Havana, Cuba. where I served for approximately 9 years as an officer. I graduated in Havana in 1962. I recommend a book just published about the history of the Salvation Army. I cannot tell the history of the Salvation Army in 4 minutes, but the Salvation Army started in Cuba in 1907. Started among the English-speaking West Indies people who came to work in the sugar plantation. But the army started working among the Spanish-speaking Cuban. And it's very interesting to know that the Salvation Army depend in Cuba today on missionary money. Being a communist country, the army is not allowed to do any fundraising or any type of collection. In the past, that's the way the Salvation Army was sustained by public donations, but since it's a socialist state, it is against the law to solicit. Then the army today basically is totally funded through the missionary work and the offering of the soldiers. Today the Salvation Army has 11 centers in Havana and other cities in Cuba. You see a picture, the uniforms in Cuba were white because of the climate. And on my left is a picture of Mrs. Taylor when they visited the island in 1981. That was the first time a general has visited Cuba in many, many years. Only 2 generals had the opportunity to visit the island. The Salvation Army Cuba probably is the only division who has his own war cry and his own training school, because being in the English-speaking territory, Cuba is Spanish-speaking, and it's necessary that we have our own training school. This is why it's so important that we remember that when we talk about Cuba, Cuba is still a missionary country, even though the army started there many, many years. But because of the political situation, the army totally depend in Cuba. And in 1974, after many years of isolation, Commissioner Needham, the late Commissioner Needham, was the first territorial commander to visit Havana, and 900 people attended to his first meeting in Havana. The army is well. The army is growing, not as we understand the growing. We're not allowed, or people over there are not allowed to proselytize or go on the street to hold meetings or invite people to church. People come to the core through friends and without making any public appeal, because it's against the law to invite people to bring children to the meeting. But they still hold Sunday school and holds all kinds of services like We Know Home League and youth rallies and all kinds of activities. The Army is well. This is why, once again, I recommend you want to know the story of the Salvation Army. This book is published by one missionary officer, Doreen Hobbs. Today she works in the publishing department in the international headquarters, and is the history not just of the Salvation Army, but the history of all the Salvation Army in the West Indies. This is why, thank you for what you do and giving in the missionary, because many people are dependent in what we can do. And this is why I'm very interested in giving and asking other people to help the self-denial effort. Thank you.
Thank you. As the former divisional leader for the Bahamas, it is my privilege to share with you some of the experiences we had during our stay in the Caribbean. There are many times when we would be astounded by the scenery around us. Bananas which grew in the backyard were a treat not to be missed, especially when we consider and you see them growing from just small shoots through to maturity. We felt the same with the young people of the area. These youth were trained in the knowledge of the Bible, Salvation Army doctrine, and then enrolled as junior soldiers. No divisional leader was more proud to conduct a service of enrollment than I that Sunday morning. But not all children have the opportunity to grow up and read and write. In the Caribbean, 20% of the young people are blind due to birth defects. The Salvation Army throughout the area has several schools to assist in the problems and provide schooling and later employment for these children. There are 4 schools in the area operated by the Salvation Army to assist in the education of the children. These schools are approved by the countries as education centers and assist with the payment for that education. However, the facilities are far from adequate. Kitchens to provide meals for many are not adequate to meet the need, and so the request for assistance from you. At this time, when we are thinking of the needs in these places, I want to express their thanks to you for the fine assistance shown through the World Services Appeal of the Salvation Army. But not all blind people are able to work, and so the Salvation Army has set up factories not only to assist the adults, but also to provide income for the work in these areas. Mops are made and then sold to the public through stores and other retail outlets, which in turn assist both the family of the blind person and the local economy. But not all is wonderful in these paradise islands. Many are without adequate buildings and facilities. Often we are required to work under the most difficult of circumstances. This is a Corps Center in Grenada. The entire Corps Center is just 20 feet wide, a fact which can be noted from the size of the vehicle. But in this Corps there is a lodge for men, a feeding program, officers' quarters, and all other operations which we have in a Corps building. It is 2 stories high, and from the top there is a view of the harbor. Souls are being saved and lives changed in this location known as the Spice Isle. But what of other buildings? Many are in very poor condition, but there is little money to replace them. Through our giving, we are able to make changes in the worship centers. Many are like this one, which is in a very busy center of worship every day of the week. But then there are buildings which are no longer any use at all. Conducting a meeting in this building, I had to be very careful where I walked that Sunday morning because the platform was almost gone. One step this way, and I would have been in a hole up to my waist. But then Sunday afternoon, we were able to dedicate a new Corps Center. This building could take in the entire Corps instead of many who in the past just stood at the windows and listened through glassless panes. What a joy to see a new Corps and to know the soldiers had assisted in the construction. Windows with glass and doors that closed. No holes in the floor and room for all. The appointment in the Caribbean gave us many opportunities to visit other locations and to share the gospel message. The Territorial Center is located in Kingston, Jamaica. On many occasions, we were able to share in the special gatherings, not the least being the Congress and the commissioning of the cadets. Cadets come from 16 different countries to be trained as officers. A total of 6 languages are used in the territory, covering a region larger than the United States, from the Bahamas to French Guiana and Barbados to Belize. Of special interest is the commissioning of this young couple. In the past, they were not able to be trained in Kingston, and they were the first who came from Cuba. They were appointed back to Cuba, their homeland, to continue the work with proclaiming of the gospel message. And what of the future? There are many fine officers who will take on more leadership as the days go on. While we were able to assist for a period, the long term must be in the hands of others. We can provide assistance with money and personnel to assist, but the future is in the hands of officers and young people such as Rita, who must lead on into the future. There are many who will continue to look to us for assistance in the days which lie ahead. Perhaps you will not have a personal calling to another land to spread the gospel, but your money can provide the hands and the tools to lead others to Christ. The need is great, and though we are able to think of these islands as a paradise, and believe me, they are, there are many troubled people in paradise. They need our love and support. They need our prayers. We are grateful for all the help given in the past, and again say thank you. But when a country has over 100% inflation, and when the government devalues the money overnight, there are problems. On behalf of the many thousand who are assisted by your contribution, I say thank you, and God bless you.